The recursive writing process. What is it and why is it important to us as writers? Well, in the 70s and 80s, there was a lot of composition research being done. Scholars like Sandra Pearl and Donald Murray were busy studying their students. They were saying what was going on in the minds of these students as they're writing. And so they started to put together some theories as they started to observe some patterns. Donald Murray tried to quantify it, as we're going to see in a moment. But in the past, the writing process was taught as a linear model. There was pre-writing, which went to drafting, which then moved into revising, and you turned in the paper for your teacher. And most of us were taught that way until the 70s and 80s hit. Then suddenly all this scholarship started taking place, and now we realize that writing is a recursive process. It isn't linear. Pre-writing does not happen in a box, and then you don't draft in a box. There's actually more stuff going on in the mind. So what is going on in the mind? Well, pre-writing, as you know, and you've probably heard a lot about pre-writing, that's your brainstorming phase. It's more than just brainstorming, though. It's researching, it's talking to other people about your topic, it's conducting surveys, it's reading books, it's any number of things that you do that immerses yourself into your subject. Interviewing is a great strategy to use in pre-writing. But one of my favorites is actually talking about it. Once you've immersed yourself into the topic, you start talking to other people. Hey, guess what I learned? I learned about, the North Star and Orion, and you're talking about the constellations with people, and somebody else says, oh, did you know about Cassiopeia? No, tell me. So you've got this interplay of ideas, and you're building upon the foundation that you know. So once you start researching a topic, start talking about your topic in pre-writing. Okay, so what happens in pre-writing, though, it naturally, we've done all this talking about it, let's draft. So it naturally moves into drafting, just like the linear model showed us. But did you know that drafting actually moves back into pre-writing? It does. And you've probably done this and you weren't even conscious of it happening. What ends up happening is as you're writing, as you're typing, as you're keying it in, sometimes you might look away and you'll think of an idea. How can I say this better? What more information do I need to put in this? And when you look away, those look away moments, you've shifted your mind back into pre-writing. Be conscious of that. Be conscious of when you do this because it'll help you to understand your own process. It's a type of thinking called metacognitive thinking, and it'll help you to understand your own process as you sort of observe your own writing. Okay, so these things are moving back and forth. They're flowing. One doesn't just jump to another. So also, as we know, in order to revise, you have to have something written. So you have your paper, you have your document. Now it's time to look at it. Now it's time to move into revision. There are actually 3 orders of revision. The highest order of revision being in the ideas realm. Are my ideas suitable? Do they make sense? Do they support what I'm trying to say? So that's the first order. The second order is the organization. You look at organization. You look at your draft and you say, is it structured right? Should I use this paragraph 3? Should that actually be paragraph 2? Should I switch them? And then the lowest order is the grammar. Grammar, punctuation, syntax, all of that's part of revision. So we do that with a document we've already produced. So now that we've done that, what do? Do we leave it on the page? No, we move back into drafting. Gotta hit the old typewriter again. So we take our revision with what we've marked up and we start to draft again. But what about this? This seems to be like a great chasm, doesn't it? But it's not. Because little do you know, these two actually interchange with each other as well. While you're pre-writing, while you're in that researching phase, let's take the researching phase of pre-writing, for example, and you're creating maybe an annotated bibliography. You're looking at all these various texts. I could use this in my paper. I could use that in my paper. But then you look at one and you say, I'm not going to use this book. Why not? Because you've already sort of visioned your paper but you've actually just revisioned it. You've just said, I'm not going to use that book. I don't want to include the information in this text because it doesn't support what I'm going to say. So you've moved into revision. Does revision move into pre-writing? Yes, it does. I mean, maybe I should have covered this earlier, because when you're drafting and you're in that revision phase and you say, how can I say this better? How can I word this so that it makes sense to what my readers want to, or so it makes sense to my readers, and you look away and you say, how can I say that better? You've looked away into that pre-writing phase again. So again, you see these all shift, they all work together. So when you're aware of your own writing, metacognitively, what your metacognitive thinking, you're able to sort of realize where you need to go with your drafts as you're writing your drafts. You know, sitting down at the computer, when you start that paper at 12 o'clock at night and it's due at 8 in the morning, and you think, well, I'm drafting all night. I didn't have any time for pre-writing. No, guess what? You're actually pre-writing in the night. Well, how can that be? You're sitting at the typewriter. You didn't have any time to research. Drafting, as Donald Murray found out, is only 1% of the process. 1% of the writing process, that keying in. But you say, wait a minute, I've been at the computer from midnight until 8 in the morning. I did 8 hours. That was 100% drafting. Not necessarily. What's happened while you're at the computer trying to type out your paper, what are you doing? You're checking Wikipedia, aren't you? You're Googling things. You're finding out, what information do I need to know to make sense? You're actually pre-writing because you're researching, you're thinking about it. And what Donald Murray found out is he found out that pre-writing is actually 85% of the process. So what this can tell us as writers, the more time we spend immersing ourselves into our topics in various ways, the easier this is actually going to be. So of course, and let's just put another number up there, 14% is the difference on revision. And you should spend time in revision because ultimately you want your readers to understand what you've written. So many times I could tell students first drafts because so many times they go from pre-writing to drafting, unbeknownst to them also doing revision in the process, but they think they're done. I'll just turn this in. This is all that I need to do. And they needed to spend some time in revision. They don't grammar, they don't even do a lot of times the simplest level, but you want to be that student who excels. So spend time in revision. It's a critical phase. Look at your ideas. Start here at ideas. Go to organization, then go to grammar. So thank you for listening to the recursive writing process, and I hope that your writing improves on so many levels knowing this, and I hope that you excel in every writing project that you work on. Thank you.